It's terrific, you know, but it's,
Power of words.
yeah. Hamming it up. It was a Sunday morning in 1956 and we just got home from 8 a.m. Mass. I changed out of my good clothes and put on a pair of shorts, a t-shirt and my school sandals. Mum and Dad were drinking a pot of tea in the kitchen and reading the paper when I walked out the back door, careful not to let the screen door slam. It was already quite warm and the backyard with all its fruit trees seemed a cooler place to be. Besides that, whilst I'd been kneeling down that morning, not understanding any of the Latin Father Killian was using, I'd been thinking about the one peach was still left up on the tree. I'd spotted it when I was in the chook shed getting the eggs before church. It was high up and was going to be hard to get, but it didn't look as though the birds had beaten me to it. I dragged an empty banana box out of the shed, across the yard, then upended it below the peach tree. It was a white peach, its fruit really fleshy and juicy with smooth and furry skin dusted with tinges of soft pink. This last one looked like the best one too. I got the yard broom out of the shed and climbed on top of the box. I pushed the broom head up through a tangle of branches to try and tap it gently so it might drop. I knew I'd have to be quick then to catch it without falling off the box and hurting myself. But I was just a little bit too short to reach it. If the box had been 6 inches higher, I could have got it for sure. My best chance now was to try and scale the tree on one of the biggest branches and reach out for it. I just started to get really close when I heard the slap of the screen door closing, then Dad's voice yelling out, "Geoff, where are you?" "Up here," I replied, but he could hardly see me because the apricot and nectarine trees were between us. I could see him though, but I was fairly high up and I could see he was looking for me on the ground. "I'm up in the peach tree," I yelled. "What the bloody hell are you doing up there?" "There's one peach left and I'm trying to get it," I explained. He wandered down and got directly underneath me. "You hop down and I'll get the ladder and get it for you. Now come on, hop down before you fall down." By the time I'd climbed down, he was back with the wooden step ladder and started to position it so it was really steady. He asked me to stand side onto the ladder and hold onto it with both hands. He had to get right up on the very top step too, and I could feel the ladder start to rock a little bit. He must have felt it too because he said, "You keep a firm hold on it, I don't want to go arse up." "I've got it," I said, and tightened my grip a bit more. "I've got it too," he said, "and it's a bloody beauty." And then he started to descend. When he got back down, he passed it to me. It was perfect, apart from one little spot where a bird had stuck its beak in for a taste. That didn't worry me though, I got straight into it. Soon I had peach juice all over my chin and dripping from my fingers. Those damn peaches were so tasty. Dad came back from putting the ladder and the box back in the shed and said, "When you finished eating that, go to the bathroom, wash your face and hands, and you can come out for a walk with me." "Sure," I said. I'd just turned 7, I hardly ever went out for a walk just with him. When I asked if Anne or Mark were coming too, he said, "Nah, it's just you and me." "Where are we going?" I asked. "Go and have a wash and I'll tell you." When I came back out, he said, "Don't get too excited, we're just going around to Collins Street to use the public phone. But if you behave yourself, you can drop the 4 pennies in and press the button for me. Can you do that?" "Easy." We had about a quarter of a mile to where the phone box was. After we turned the first corner, John Rowe's dog, a black and white mongrel, ran alongside the inside of their front fence growling at us. Dad growled back at the dog and it started barking. Dad started barking too, and I was laughing, telling him to do it some more, but he wouldn't. A bit further on we met Mrs. Parker. She was on her way back from the deli. She peeled open a packet of Craven A she'd just bought and they stood there on the footpath, having a smoke. She told Dad she was worried about her husband Jack losing his licence because he'd just been pinched for drunk driving. Jack was a cab driver and she said she didn't know what they'd do after his licence was taken. Dad didn't have his licence either now. That's why we were walking up to the phone box. He'd already been caught twice. I knew that. After we turned into Robert Avenue, we'd see the corner deli up on our left and I knew the phone box was just around the corner. Sometimes I used to go up to the deli on my own to get Dad a packet of Rotherham Plain. He always let me get an ice cream cone with the change. "Can you get me an ice cream at the shop please, Dad?" First up, he said, "Little boys that ask for things don't get any, and little boys that don't ask for things don't want any." After a long pause he said, "Your best bet is to say nothing." But then he started smiling and said, "Yeah, of course you can have an ice cream. but I'll make the phone call first. When we turned the corner and got to the phone box, there was a lady inside it already. We stood alongside the phone box in the sun, waiting for her to finish. She knew we were there and kept turning around and looking at us before turning away again. But she just kept talking anyway. 10 minutes later, she was still going. When she turned the next time, Dad caught her eye through the glass panel and started making out to wind in a fishing reel. But the lady just turned away and carried on talking. She was still doing the same thing 5 minutes later. "Come on," Dad said, and I thought we were going home. Instead, we went into the corner deli. The bell jangled on the door when we went in and the owner came out to serve us. Dad asked if he could make me up a single cone of vanilla and the bloke winked at me and went to it straight away. While he was scooping it out, Dad said we'd been waiting on the phone for about 20 minutes. Then he walked across and looked out the shop window and said she was still going. "She'll get laryngitis," Dad said, and the man laughed. After Dad paid the man, he asked him if he could do him a favour. The bloke then passed over a tin ham that was sitting up on the shelf behind him. "Shouldn't be much more than a minute," Dad said, and I followed him out and back around the corner to the phone box door. He knocked a couple of times and opened the door and said, "I bought this tin ham out for you. You must be starting to get hungry in there by now." The lady was off the phone about 10 seconds flat and stormed off down Collins Street, away from us, muttering, but we couldn't quite hear what she was saying. Dad took the ham back into the shop then, and the bloke was at the side window, still laughing. He had tears in his eyes and said, "That's the funniest bloody thing I've seen since I opened the shop." Dad made his phone call and we walked home, talking about the lady. I remember Mum laughing like mad when Dad told her what happened. She really loved Dad when he was playful. You could tell from her laugh.